All right, so this speech is from my Communications 1010 class, which is public speaking. We were asked to pick a topic which has something to do with a time in our lives in which we were influenced somehow. So I have chosen poverty and living in low-income area. So what can be the effects of living in a low-income area when it comes to thinking about education in your future career? A recent study in 2012 done by a local nonprofit organization in New Orleans states that 63% of people who live below the poverty line or in low-income housing actually want to go to college but don't have the resources necessary to actually pursue that endeavor. I grew up in what was known as the Redwood Projects in New Orleans, actually in the city of Kenner, that consisted of 400 apartment units. Approximately 83% of those residents in this apartment complex were Latinos. 15%, approximately 15%, were African Americans, and 2% were considered other. So they were Caucasians or any other races. A lot of the individuals that lived in these apartments were very hard-working people. For example, my mother worked 15 hours a day for almost my entire life to be able to make ends meet and bring food to the table and to be able to provide for our family. Schooling. There were 3 schools that surrounded this particular neighborhood. One was Harold Keller Elementary School, which approximately 100% of the people that lived in this complex attended, Roosevelt Middle, and Bonneville High School. Unfortunately, these schools had the minimal resources possible to be able to move their students forward, which was an absolute negative effect for those who attended these institutions. As I mentioned, my mother worked 15 hours a day, oftentimes 7 days a week, to make ends meet. However, she always pushed that I attend school regularly and that I dream big, right, and that I become the successful individual in the future so that I would be able, in the end, to take care of her, right? Because she worked so hard. Unfortunately, a lot of the children that lived and grew up in these neighborhoods didn't have parents who motivated them like my mother did. A lot of them ended up doing drugs, or dropping out of school, or killing themselves because they suffered from depression, which is very unfortunate. Thankfully, I had a mother who really inspired me, by everything that she did, working so hard. I mean, till this day, my mother's a 63-year-old housekeeper, and that's what keeps me motivated. That's what really keeps me grounded and keeps me wanting to strive for success. So, going back to the area that I was raised in, resources, whether it was having to do with education or housing, finances, they were very, very minimal, okay? And oftentimes people think that living below the poverty line, below the poverty line, or living in low-income housing has absolutely no effect on someone when it comes to wanting to pursue a better life or wanting to pursue an education. We don't always take into consideration the situations that a lot of these people have gone through. Some rely on drugs to make themselves feel better. Some drop out of high school to be able to work, like my brother did, to make ends meet and to provide for my family. And very little of us have the opportunity to actually move up in the education system, to be able to achieve the dreams that we want to achieve. So, in my opinion, I think it is our responsibility as college students to be able to stand up for individuals who live in such circumstances and be able to help them receive the resources, the information, or whatever it is that they need in order to become the most productive citizens that they can become. And it isn't until people like us stand up for these people, it isn't until we actually act on it that we're going to be a more productive society in general. Thank you.